Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll talk to an expert on entrepreneurs, and he'll talk about the importance of going from victim to victor. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Okay, I'm an entrepreneur, and I got to tell you, as an entrepreneur, sometimes it's a lonely life. You're the boss, and there are stories that you can't tell to employees, or stories that you might not even be able to tell to your wife. It's important to have a peer group around you to help you and find blind spots and be really your transparency experts. So to talk about that today, Robert J. Hunt, he's with Renaissance Executive Forums, Dallas. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so tell us more about your background.
Well, my background was marketing. That's what I did most of my career. Grew up in Southern California and moved here in 2010 because California was imploding, continues to do that. And so we love Texas. And we came out here and I was doing marketing consulting for some clients when I met the guy who owned Renaissance Executive Forums Dallas. And he was telling me what they do. And I thought, you mean you could get paid money to help people? Because in marketing, I always felt like I was the outside guy trying to convince everyone, hey, instead of us saying how great we are, why don't we be great? And I was just that kind of guy I always felt like I was on the outside. So having a chance to be able to really make change in people's lives was very exciting to me. So I quit doing marketing, jumped on the opportunity, got trained in 2013 and had my first group up by the end of the year.
Wow, and how many groups do you have now?
I have 4 groups. And my very first group member from 2013 is still a group member today.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, we found a great overview video. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
So during our last meeting, I talked to our group about my new vision with a new org chart of how we want to roll out some new service lines for our clients. And I was very, very proud of what I put out there and my plans. It all seemed to make sense. And honestly, they just challenged me and said, I don't think you need to throw that much labor at it. Use more software, more tools that you just aren't utilizing right now. And I kind of fought it at first, but afterwards I started thinking about it. I took it back to my managers, and we spent about a week bouncing off ideas, and we've actually found a strategy now where we can do it with about 30% less labor, which in the short term, I'm in the middle of about to do a remodel to facilitate this new growth. It's going to save me about $85,000 of space I don't need to remodel anymore. And then over about 7 years, it's probably going to save me around $1.4 million of labor. And we think we can still get the same production volume, higher profitability with less spend. For a small business owner, that's what it's all about.
Wow, it's an amazing organization, and it really does change lives, and I think it probably helps change the trajectory of their course with their company.
It does, because I think it really always starts with you as a leader. If you're having troubles in your marriage and your mind is overwhelmed with things and you're not together as a human being, it's awfully hard to lead a bunch of employees. And I want people to have a full life where they enjoy the journey they're on today. We spend too much time thinking, it'll get good when I have this. It'll get better when I do this. Well, it could get good right now if you'd be willing to make some changes that are hard, but you have people who have your back. That's why we come together as a group. There's power in having all those people come together and work through the challenges of leadership and have a group of people who care about you and push you along.
Well, you're a big fan of accountability, and I know you're working on a book right now.
I am.
So tell us about the book.
It's called Navigating the Climb to a Victorious Life. It's the Peak Accountability is the name of the book. And we really want this mindset that people need to stop blaming everybody for everything. In the last year or so, it seems like everything. You can't have a conversation about anything anymore because it turns into an argument. And so a lot of this blame that's going on is a misunderstanding of your role to be accountable for what goes on in your life. And so one of my group members, Salem Thyme, has pushed me for about a year to, hey, let's write this book together. And he's been the catalyst for it. So we committed this month, and we'll have it out by the end of the year or really the first part of next year.
I agree with you. I find a lot of people are always pointing the finger. They're saying, if only we had this administration, or if only the government would do this, or only we had a better economy. I mean, famously, a lot of millionaires were created during the Great Depression. It doesn't matter what's going on in Washington or Wall Street. You can chart your own path.
And I'll tell you, all of my group members will tell you, last year was a great year for them because personally, it was a reset. It was a time to look at what really mattered in your life, to really think about, yeah, I'm working so hard, but for what? And then when it was all taken away, you started realizing maybe there's some more to life. And it was a great reset. So I think people came out of it refocused on them as a human being, and then looking at their business in a better way, made really great changes. You had to, just to survive, you had to make a lot of changes. And I think they're all going to come out of it very strong.
Very cool. We're going to put up on the screen right now your podcast, the CEO Tip of the Day podcast. Tell us about that.
Oh, that was so fun. That's my first group member. That's Stephen Bolos.
Very cool.
And he joined in 2013. It's still in the group today. And we had a great time just talking about 17. He successfully grew it to a giant company and sold it. And now he started 2 more businesses. He's not retired. He's still living life, and he loves Jesus, and he's out there being bold about his faith and serving and caring for people. And I just love that I can have him tell his story on that podcast. So we'll do one a month.
Yes.
I don't want to make a commitment.
So you mentioned your faith, and I know that's very important to you. Will you talk a little bit more about your faith?
Yeah, I'm a born-again Christian. It's a big deal to me. I don't run a Christian group because I want to meet people that are excellent regardless of their faith, but I'm a born-again Christian, so I talk about Jesus because I love Jesus, and it's part of my life. So we don't start in prayer, and we don't do a Bible study, but at the end of the day, if you come in the group and I say, what's going on? You say, well, my wife's in the hospital. I'm not really focused. Say, well, then we're going to stop. We're going to pray for you. And I challenge people to be their best. That the principles of the Bible teach us really good business principles.
Yes.
Don't be a liar. Be nice to your employees.
Yes.
Work really hard, but show compassion on others and help the needy. That's all part of what the Bible tells us. So I just like to take those principles and inspire people to be their best through that.
I agree. There was a great book written years ago, Jesus as CEO. Do you remember that book?
Yeah.
And you're right. I think sometimes we're learning one lesson in church, synagogue, temple, and then we're learning another lesson on the street when running a company. And it seems like
that's where it's proven,
right?
Really. Because people will call themselves a Christian and then treat their employees so poorly, and it's just a bad representation. Jesus was not a wuss. He was a very kind and smart person, but he was also a warrior, and he faced the leadership of the time, and he didn't back down at all. You, as a leader of your company, you should be bold, and as the leader, you have the chance to do that, to change people's lives forever by the way you treat them and helping them grow and develop and care for them, and it still makes good business sense at the same time.
Yes, we got about a minute left, so your camera's there on the right. For the entrepreneur who's thinking about getting into a peer group like yours, what would you say to them?
This is only for people who want to get better. If you've got everything together and you're doing great, you don't need a peer group, because that either means you really are doing great, which a lot of people are, or you don't realize that you have issues you want to get better at. Our groups are for people who are radically open-minded and transparent, that they can come into a setting and say, these are the struggles I deal with, I need help. And when you're willing to say you need help, you can get help, because you're in a room full of successful men and women, young and old, all kinds of industries. If you can't find a solution and walk out with it fixed, you didn't bring it to the group. And so if you're really, really in that place where you want to grow and be your best, I think peer groups are an awesome way to go.
Outstanding. Robert J. Hunt, you've been an inspirational guest. We're going to end by putting up your website so people can get in touch. It's refdallas.com. Robert J. Hunt, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. This was fun.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.